to checking your white privilege. What a fantastic day. But just remember, it's only a dream. Yeah, we're going to let that just set the tone for this entire video here. This is Gray Fox 37.
And Pikachu 23.
Yeah, we're taking off of I Hypocrite there, so shout-outs to him for the inspiration. But, yeah, today we're going to start off with a small little thing that I found online on April Fool's Day, and then we're going to get into the juicy meat and potatoes, which is going to be some great Twitter reads and some discussions. We're probably going to talk for an hour, more than likely. I'm going to time it for an hour before we get to some gaming with Pikachu and Street Fighter 2. But unfortunately, we have to deal with pain before pleasure. So... So I don't know if you guys are aware, there's a chick, really, really disgusting chick out in Palo Alto, California that caused a lot of issues on April Fool's Day and pretty much messed around with a poor old man who did nothing more but wear a MAGA hat in a restaurant. Now, we're gonna read a tweet of hers that started it all. Then we're gonna read a rebuttal that shows the inner depth of her psychopath mentality, and then we're gonna read some good news after that, and then we'll get to the fun, the real fun. So this is Parker Manlave quoted on Facebook. Anybody in Palo Alto know this freak? He was sitting in Starbucks. I think he lives in Palo Alto. He'll never forget me and will seriously think about wearing that hat in my town ever again. If you see him in this hat, please confront him. You do not want to be the person who didn't speak up as we slipped into fascism. So there you are. There's the guilt tripping and shaming that the left is known for.
Yeah.
I yelled at him, called the entire Starbucks to order, and yelled at him more about how it's not okay to hate brown people.
What? What does that hat have anything to do with this?
He threatened to call the cops. I left after yelling at him some more. When I walked back after picking up my lunch, he was still there. I went back in and yelled that I had changed my mind and wanted him to call the police because I wanted to know his name, where he lived, his wife's name, and where his kids went to school. I called him more names and told him to call the police. Then I yelled and asked someone else at Starbucks to call the police. He wouldn't call the police, so I called him a wimp. He got his stuff together to leave. I followed him to the register where he complained about me, then chased him out of the Starbucks yelling at him to get the fuck out of my town and never come back. At one point, he tried to trip me up by asking if I lived in Palo Alto. He wasn't expecting me to say that I was Palo Alto born and bred. I think he lives in Palo Alto. Please send me a DM if you see him anywhere. The part that was really heartbreaking to me was that in a full Starbucks, I was the only person yelling at him. Oh, you hero. You hero. There were other white people there who should have called him out. It is the duty of every white person in America to stand up to this every time they see it. There's the skin color virtue signaling. Oh, we're going to get lots of that tonight. Don't be the person who does nothing to protect our brothers and sisters from this hatred. It is not okay. Even though I yelled and wanted to follow this man home and threaten his family and his wife.
Yeah, this chick here, logic, what's that? Because none of this makes any sense. What does a MAGA hat have to do with racial anything? What does this person doesn't own this place either? All this other oh my God.
We've seen we've seen black people wearing the well, at least I have.
Yeah.
I've seen black people wear "Make America Great Again" hats. I've seen Hispanic people wear it. I mean, honestly,
if you're like, because there's obviously other reasons this could be seen as offensive for some people, but like, why are you connecting it to this? That's so retarded. I can't even. Oh God.
Plus, nobody's really surprised that she was born and raised in Palo Alto, California.
Yeah, right.
Home of Stanford. One of those liberal institutes next to Berkeley. But I mean, Stanford's still a good school, but I still got to call it out. Yeah. So then. Being the psychopath that she continues to be on Facebook, Stevie J asks, or says, no one wants to find this guy. Find him for what exactly? Are we going to start going house to house? What the fuck? Parker decides to reply, I'm going to publicly shame him. See?
What? He didn't do nothing.
See, I told you, they love to shame.
Yep.
We're not shaming you, shame. In town.
Liar.
And try to get him fired and kicked out of every club he is in. I'm going to go to his house and march up and down carrying a sign that says he hates black people. I thought it was brown.
And I still don't know where you're getting this hates anyone thing from.
I'm good to organize. It's the MAGA hat. These people are fucking nuts.
I know.
Pikachu.
That's,
I'm going to organize protests to make him feel as unsafe as he made. See, it goes from black to brown person. So she can't even remember what fucking color she's working with today. So I mean, this is just gold.
Classic Psycho.
So here's the clincher. With regard to this is Griffin Strings. With regard to the aforementioned incident on 4/1/19, the employee in question has been terminated. Griffin does not believe anyone should be harassed or subject to hate speech no matter their beliefs. Music has historically been something that has brought people of diverse socio-political backgrounds together. It's true. We would like to make it clear that the opinions expressed and actions taken by the employee are not indicative of how we conduct ourselves at the shop, and we hope we can continue to serve our customers across the country respectfully and universally as we have done for nearly 50 years. So Parker, who I believe has Liberty Spike mohawk from what I've seen on Google, is kaput.
Bye-bye.
Imagine just being so disgusted by a piece of apparel that you literally take it as an insult to brown and black people. or I don't know, is it brown or is it black?
We don't know.
Parker can't seem to decide there, but it, just imagine just being so unironic about that, and just being so disgusted at a piece of apparel. I mean, is she a bull? Is it because it's red? Maybe, but bulls are colorblind. But even then, it's like, is it maybe because she's a bull? So here, I've got to warn you. Get ready to vomit.
Oh,
that's her right there. This is Parker.
I'm glad I can't see.
Liberty Spike mohawks and shaved head and all. It's so funny. The Nazi and here, look at that beaut. Look at that beautiful face with the stereotypical Coke bottle frames and the beating red lipstick, and then that look that she's just like, I'm going to kill you. Yeah.
That's lovely.
So stunning and brave, huh? Want to date her? You guys want to date her? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm getting such a massive chubby right now. Just wanna ride those Liberty Spikes all the way to the statue. Well, it's just basically, you could sum it up like, you flip out in public, you act like a complete and total moron. You basically declare war on somebody you're probably never even going to speak to ever again, and then you get fired basically for the flip out and everything. Kind of a rough day, huh? Real rough day there. When I was 24, and God, it seems like centuries ago, I remember I was in Berkeley during a anti-war demonstration, and I remember this incident kind of reminds me of when I saw a bunch of kids trying to attack the president of the Republican Club from San Francisco State. Apparently, the kids had found out that he was the president of the Republican Club from that university. So what they did was they basically said, yo, you know who that fucking is? Get the fuck out of here! And they were actually chasing him down. The police, he had to run for his life because they were literally about to dispense mob justice on him until the police got involved. I remember seeing a girl break down in tears and crying, "We're just kids." And I'm sitting there like, so you were just about to harm somebody for a differentiating political ideology, and then when you're confronted by authority, you suddenly change from the mob beat-em-up mentality to the victim right off the bat.
Of course.
Nothing's changed. Ugh. Absolutely nothing has changed. The canvas has changed, sir. now we're pissed off at Trump, as opposed to like the war in Iraq, no blood for oil and blah blah blah, and then of course calling Marines out for being baby killers and things like that, which was said often in that protest that I attended. It was really interesting too, because there were a lot of Asian people that were there that didn't understand what was going on, especially when they decided to do the demonstration where they showed the security checkpoint, and then this like explosion went off and everybody was dead basically, and I'm sitting there like, oh, okay, so we Americans are deliberately just setting off bombs at checkpoints and whatnot. And what was sad was I saw these two Asian women who were really, really scared and didn't understand what the hell was going on. And all I could think of was, wow, way to indoctrinate people on fear-mongering for people who don't understand. They didn't understand it was a demonstration. They seriously thought something like it was like real, and something real scary was happening. I felt bad for them. I really, really felt bad. I can just picture their scared faces in my head right now. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, that's what can I say? This is just what people want these days, I guess.
Ugh.
So, but hey, justice was served. You're gonna go, if you're gonna go after somebody again. Hey, you like or hate Trump, whatever. But to call action upon people, I mean, she's lucky that she just lost her job. I mean, he could have sued her basically because she was threatening his well-being. And I encourage him to do it. I hope that guy does it. I don't even care if she doesn't have anything. It's the principle of the matter in that case. You're going to try to ruin his life, it's a tenfold eye for an eye. Kota Hammurabi, baby. So that's pretty much just the warm-up there. So today we've been discussing a lot of things that we've been considering talking about. I hope you like my new... digressing here, I hope you like my new background, Secret of Mana. I'll be playing that eventually, getting around to it, like I've been saying probably for the past, 2 weeks, I guess, but we'll get to it. But we've been kind of debating what to talk about and everything, and then I just saw the most fantastic hashtag that's been trending on Twitter. Excuse me, I'm a little congested. I've been seeing one of the most fantastic hashtags that's been trending on Twitter called hashtag #MyWhitePrivilege. This is a great place to go to completely virtue signal and call out and acknowledge that this color of your skin being white means that you're superior to non-white people, which is the very definition of
racism.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The irony of it. Imagine being so ashamed of who you are and your heritage to have to go online to get the vindication of people who aren't white and are probably sitting behind their computers masturbating to your virtue signaling and your guilt. This is nothing to do with reparations. This has nothing to do with apologies or anything like this. This is strictly revenge. This is just another step in non-white people basically wanting to declare war on white people and call for their genocide. I mean, it's just, you can say I'm crazy, you can say like, oh, you're sounding like Alex Jones and stuff like that. Well, every single time I look at this crap, a majority of these people, I mean, they just want to completely obliterate white people off the earth. Sometimes people are trolling about it. There's a lot of trolls on this, by the way, some really funny stuff. And there's people who are taking this completely unironically, and it's just pathetic. And we'll be covering it all. I mean, we're going to be reading for the next 50 minutes. We're going to be reading, a lot of winners. I'll tell you that. So, we'll start off. We're going to start off basically with we're going to start off with some random ones at first, and then after that, I'm going to pick my top 15, basically that I derived from scouring Facebook. and we'll go ahead and have a nice little, we'll read those and have a nice little laugh. We'll break down a lot of these accordingly too. So it's gonna be a fun night. It's gonna be a really really fun night. So yeah. All right.
Dear.
So let's start with being random. When I was finishing work, I found this one that I wanted to start off with, and then we'll scroll back to the top here. Zay at Nora_Hella basically says, things that white people find offensive. Being called a white person, I'm white, I don't give a shit, I'm not offended. You offended, Pikachu?
No.
Okay. Highlighting white privilege. Well, yeah.
It's not real.
Because it doesn't exist. The fact that you see colors as a vindication for people, the way that people move up in life, is disgusting. There's financial privilege, and Pikachu and I definitely come from it. But beyond that, I mean, like hard work and sacrifice has nothing to do with where you've gotten to and whatnot. But yeah, white privilege doesn't exist. It doesn't. I mean, if white privilege exists, if white privilege exists, then black privilege exists because of what happened with Jussie Smollett. So there.
Yeah.
I'll acknowledge white privilege once people acknowledge that there's black privilege in the justice system. Clearly with Jussie Smollett, but even then I probably still won't, and I don't. There's no such thing as black privilege or anything of that nature there. People sure do act like they have it, though.
Yeah.
Mentioning racism, because it's not... The reason why racism is so rampant in this country is because it consistently gets brought up, much like how news outlets or authorities don't want people to release the names of shooters or anything, because then it starts all this divided controversy. Racism ends when you stop talking about it and you identify each other as a man or woman, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We are from different colors, but we all are equal. We have the same opportunities that everyone else has. How we obtain them and get to them is different, obviously, based on our upbringing. It has nothing to do with the color of our skin. Unfortunately, parents, though, especially black families, instill this and drill this knowledge into people and into their kids and indoctrinate them into thinking that the only way that they can make it is to basically live their lives oppressed, that the color of their skin means that they're doomed for the rest of their lives. So why are there all these great athletes and politicians and IT professionals, just, to give a few examples out there? How the hell did they make it up? I mean, Troy Smith from Ohio State back in 2006, the Heisman Trophy winner, I mean, he had a really tough upbringing. Graduated from the University of Ohio State, which is a fine institution, wins the Heisman Trophy, had a tough upbringing, but he made it out of there. He went to college. He studied hard. He got a scholarship because of his athleticism, but he still graduated from college, regardless.
Yeah.
That's just an example of that. I mean, it's so sad that, there's black doctors out there, too, black policemen, black firemen. I mean, why... And I'm focusing on black because this Zay is black, so here we go. Yeah. So it's just it's disgusting to just indoctrinate a child so early into thinking that he's doomed just because he's black. It's horrible.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I find funny, ironic, whatever word you want to use for this, is racism isn't somebody made this up. It's not one of those things that's like readily apparent. You have different color skin. That's readily apparent. Racism was a made-up thing, just like these people making up this white privilege bullshit. It's not even, look up the history of racism and how it was actually came about. It's pretty fascinating.
And what's ironic is that a lot of times when somebody calls somebody a racist, they're actually basically they're misusing the word.
Yeah, they're being stereotypical usually.
Thank you. That's just what I was going to get to. Yeah. Using a lot of slang based on somebody's race doesn't mean that you feel superior to them, which is basically the poor man's definition of racism is superiority. stereotypes are basically, something, a positive, sometimes a positive and then sometimes a negative that happens to be a statistic of a certain group of or demographic of people. And like, the chicken and watermelon with black people, and then, the basically all Asians are good at math, and then
burritos and salsa for Mexicans.
And then, the covetous Jew and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But these are stereotypes. They can still, obviously be insulting and whatnot. But everything
can be insulting,
and everything can be humorous too.
Yeah,
but that's bad. That's
it
horrible.
Is. Oh
no! Shame on you, Gray Fox, for having a dark sense of humor. I know.
You're horrible.
I should be flogged and punished.
You're so horrible.
Mentioning equity, now that's a really, really funny and kind of ironic. That's really. I'm on 2 hours of sleep right now, so my apologies. That's a really, really ironic thing to bring up. Basically, equity is basically the quality of being fair and impartial and things like that. Here's the problem, though. It's not that, and it kind of, justice kind of has hand in hand to go with it. It's not that white, like mentioning equity in the sense that a lot of people who are in these far left ideologies, equity is basically basically white, what's the term I'm looking for? White subversiveness. That's the word I was looking for. That's their goal of equity. They feel that they're being mistreated unfairly. A lot of times, though, non-white people have a gripe with others due to the fact that they've been insulted, but it has nothing to do with their rights taken away a majority of the time. I mean, how you obtain, like, even if you want to go into the value of, like if, equity also is obviously value of shares in a company, but even then, you're trying to weigh your merit based upon your origins, based upon your skin tone, and we can't, that's the reason why whenever we hear equity mentioned by people who are non-white of far-left ideology, it's just a bunch of bullshit that's basically to state, you're going to acknowledge that I'm oppressed, and if you don't, you're racist, but then you sit there and you laugh. It's like, but wait a minute, though. I thought that we were all equal. Now you're saying that we have more equity and value than you do. Like, we have more value than you do because of skin color. So what you're doing is you're basically saying that white people are superior to you, therefore being a
racist.
So that's just the irony of it there. And that's, there's nothing wrong with discussing equity, but a lot of the times it just kind of boils down to the skin tone, of course, because that's all left people see people as are colors and not individuals with personalities or contributions to society. Mentioning justice, because your view of justice is so blind. And it's funny because it's based off the statute "Justice is Blind," but your view of justice is just so blind. You feel it comes back to that subservitude. You want revenge. Justice and revenge are not the same thing. Revenge is cold. Revenge is an emotion. Justice is an accomplishment based off of facts, evidence, and moral reasoning. But revenge is immoral, and that's why when you bring it up, a majority of time it's just to get back at somebody. That's revenge. That's not justice. Saying Black Lives Matter. Well, Black lives do matter. The group's crazy.
Yeah, the group's nuts.
The groups are just a bunch of, crybabies and violent crybabies at that. Yeah. But, Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Red Lives Matter, Brown Lives Matter, every,
whatever your color thing is.
You're a life.
Yeah.
You're basically a life. And, I'm just going to say it here. It's okay to be white. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with being white.
Nope.
There's nothing wrong with being black. There's nothing wrong with being brown. But ultimately, though, if you're white, it's okay to be white. It's not okay to truly be a white supremacist. It's not okay to truly be a call to action type of racist. I mean, you can be basically a sideline racist because, I mean, all you're doing is just spreading, a lot of garbage around, but it's your right to say it. But to call a call to action, on the other hand, is something that you, on the other hand, wouldn't want to do in being a supremacist of any kind there. Affirmative action. So, basically, I'm sorry, you don't know what affirmative action is?
No, I'm just wondering why it's on the list.
Yeah, I mean, that's, the irony of it is that it basically, excuse me, my drainage, it's basically like favoring individuals belonging to groups, known to have been discriminated against previously and whatnot. So a lot of times, the affirmative action is this is just another excuse basically to feel oppressed in a country where you have the same rights as everybody else does. Affirmative action in the United States is like it's a slippery slope. It's a really, really slippery slope to basically just kind of utilize, considering all the progress that we've been making since 1961, when Kennedy was a president. It's always continued. I mean, there's been plenty of cases that basically have been either going in favor or against, basically, or have been going in favor against certain races and ethnicities. But the irony of it is that there's so few and far in between. I mean, like, there's a 10-year gap between 1979 and 1989, for example, and 79 had to deal with, like, women in business, and then 89 basically had to deal with, like, just, revising some people's, like, standards, and then 1990 was groundbreaking because they pushed through the Americans with Disabilities Act, and that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with certain affirmative actions due to the fact that it has to protect certain people. However, if the scary thing is that affirmative action to a lot of people in far left ideologies and a lot of these insane groups on the far left is, the scary thing is, if they obtain this affirmative action, they're going to be protected from certain penalties and certain possible offenses, to where they could practically get away with specific things done to somebody who's not part of their denomination. So that's the frightening part about it, is that the affirmative action that they want is to basically make them immune when they beat the living shit out of you. That's usually the impression that I get. A lot of people probably deny that, but it's just a theory that's been with me for a while. I mean, I honestly, a lot of people out there crack that ironic joke, like, oh, a lot of these companies are virtue signaling and things like that, and going out there and just basically trying to pussify men, into basically being like these beta cuck sheep and everything like that, just so women could take over. I wouldn't, honestly, I'm starting to believe it more.
Yeah.
Ugh. But that's pretty much what she writes about there. So basically, we're just kind of I'm just kind of taking a look here, and basically, I'm seeing here, like, one person says it's Ari Bayu, says affirmative action should be offensive to everyone. It discriminates against white people and patronizes black people. It's becoming a circus. Like I was going back to you saying there about how it's going to give certain, protections eventually and things like that if it goes that route. I mean, it totally gives white people a disadvantage, basically. And, white women tend to be, like, white women tend to be, really, really well covered under that. And the funny thing is that the white males, obviously are going to get a piece of the pie. But yet a lot of them, on the other token, we've given like pieces that, like, I'll use gun control for example. We've already given like so many pieces of the pie on that, and the ultimate goal isn't just like, we're just against violence, we don't want to take everybody's guns. No, the ultimate goal is to take guns. And I mean, obviously New Zealand's proven that.
You guys lied to us. You wanted to take them away.
Tom Jones, things black people find offensive. White people talking about anything white, not crying with them that they've had it so hard. White people, Donald Trump, white people. You need to grow up and take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
There you go. Bravo, Tom Jones.
That's
Bravo.
Awesome.
It's pretty pimp there.
Yeah.
I culturally appropriated a word.
You did?
There's white pimps though. The word pimp's been used for quite a while. But anyway, so we're gonna start back at the top here and just kind of scroll down. Damien brings up Brock Turner, Jacob Anderson, George Zimmerman. I mean, the list kind of just goes on and on. My white privilege. Oh yeah, and also this, and then they're showing CBS News students who allegedly gave Nazi salute are protected by free speech, but they don't understand that was totally irrelevant and a complete joke there. But student refuses to stand for Pledge of Allegiance, expelled. It's a black chick. Texas Attorney General back school. Problem is, though, that, she was just impersonating Colin Kaepernick, thinking she was so cool. It had nothing to do with the color of her skin. She was just doing something that a fellow black person, probably a hero of hers, had done. But, I mean, if I were like in Canada, for example, even though I don't really like Canada, I'd still show respect and stand during their anthem. I mean, it's just respect. Regardless of whether or not, you like this country, you live in this country. And I mean, you basically should just, show respect for a lot of opportunity that you have and whatnot. But I mean, you can still not like certain things about the country. Like, obviously, I don't like certain things about the country because I think things are in such imbalance right now.
Yep.
But I mean, things could be worse. So we could be living in a third world shithole. So
yeah, or we could live in Europe or something.
Yeah, we can't even like post copyrights anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Black as is Anasi. I think this guy is a troll, a joker, basically, because when I read this, I had to chuckle a bit and like read it twice. I want every white person who is angry at the My White Privilege hashtag to know that for every one of them who feels like life dealt them a rough hand, there is a black woman somewhere who was given 2 times as less, but are still 10 times farther in life than they are. Okay. George Zimmerman found innocent. White people. The law found him innocent. We have to respect that. Jussie Smollett has his charges dropped after the police is caught lying about evidence. White people. It's not fair. He told a lie. Well, yeah. I mean, that's where I think he's trolling, because honestly, if you really believe that unironically, that basically telling lies and setting things up and then getting let off for it is fine and okay in your book,
something's
that's
wrong
sick.
with you.
But I don't think this guy believes what he's saying. I think he's just trying to troll. I really think he is. He's been blocking a few people, but I seriously think he's just a fucking troll. Matt Oswald, who has a blue check mark, says, instead of tweeting my white privilege, I approached a group of African Americans and told them how awesome it is being white in hopes they would give me a standing ovation for how self-aware I am of my privilege. Anyway, I should be out of intensive care by next week. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And that was really, did you think this completely through, Matt? Oh, I think he did. Sir, this is a Popeyes. Yeah. Matt, you're too funny. That's a good one. A great comic relief on a serious topic. And one of the only good tweets under this hashtag. I don't really think anybody kind of got what he was getting at there, basically. I really don't think anybody kind of got what he was pointing at, but whatever. Rothberta says, "My white privilege doesn't exist. All this bullshit was created to keep the rich in power and the poor even more excluded." Yeah, I mean, basically, Democrats depend on people, like, I'm going to use Democrats as an example because usually a high population of black people vote Democrat. A lot of times they say Democrats are looking for your best interests, but a lot of times what they want to do is they want to implement systems that basically keep you from achieving your own life. They want you to depend on the government as opposed to having the government as a safety net in case you need help for a little bit to get back on your feet. They want you to depend on it, and a lot of even white people, a lot of black and white people live off of welfare and don't want to work. I mean, that's just a fact of life there. But basically, a lot of them just, they want to spread this oppression and just the sickness all about to make sure that they don't get ahead, so then they depend on the government at that point and just virtue signal and say that, oh, we're going to take care of you with all these things, but they hold them back. That's terrible, especially if you're uneducated. It's very terrible. So Rothberta continues to say, "Oh, sorry, I can't say this because I'm white and blonde and have blue eyes. Of course, makes sense. Just because I said something that displeases you, I'm wrong. All right. I really am not racist. I'm just saying you can't generalize your problems blaming your skin color. It's true.
Thank you.
The problem is aggressions against individuals, not black or white or Asian people. And the government like to put you into a group to make it to be more easy to manipulate, just like I was saying there, to attract you and make you think they will work to resolve your problems." Boy, I was just talking about that, and
hit the nail on the head.
Nope, and they won't. They just want. Nope. They will just make one or two laws about it, and then waste your money with themselves. Pretty much. It's pretty much. Stop putting yourself in collectives. You're unique, and no group will represent you 100%. Don't limit yourself by the color of your skin. Yeah. So then somebody basically called her privileged, so she goes, "Privileged Brazilian, choose one." Yeah. I mean, there's some people get it. Some people in other countries get it. I know some British people that get it. I know some Canadian people that get it. Australian people that get it. I know a Brazilian person that gets it now. It's not just America that doesn't buy into the shit. And speaking of which, this is on Twitter. Anybody in the world can see this. This is so frightening to, I've even had some people comment and say, "Boy, Americans have it really rough with this bullshit and everything." And then I have to crack the joke and say, well, at least they have the right to commit these atrocities as opposed to worrying about their government basically shutting them down. UK, hint, hint.
For everything.
Or EU, hint, hint. But, I'm not just talking memes. There's no constitution in the UK, for example. So, you talk shit on Twitter, you're going to get arrested for hate speech. The only time you'll be arrested here is if you threaten or make a call to action or call to arms and whatnot. But that goes outside of suggestion. People can still suggest certain things, but do like what Parker Mankey did. And I'm thinking Mankey. Alan told me or showed me Mankey earlier from Pokemon. I was like, you know what? I was thinking that
totally
too.
Fits.
So my gringo privilege. Oh, man. "You're stupid as fuck because privilege as a white person means you don't get the shitty treatments we get as black folks. We're not grouping ourselves or limiting ourselves. We're already grouped into the thug, criminal, dangerous categories. You
don't have to stay there, and you don't have to be one."
Exactly. It's not your fault that your culture as a whole has demonstrated that statistically, but it doesn't mean that you have to cry about it. If you're not a thug, then you're not a thug. If somebody thinks you are, who gives a shit?
Yeah, and it goes with other things too that aren't necessarily race related. Like for instance, with me, I'm a blind person. I don't sit here and cry all day. Oh my God, I'm blind. What am I gonna do?
Yeah, give me like $3 gajillion. I can't see. Everybody feel bad for you. Whenever we go walking around the complex, people just virtue signal Pikachu so much.
Yeah,
it's
you're really
so brave.
Annoying.
You're so brave for being out here and being blind. She's a human being too, and she likes Pokemon.
Can't we just Pokemon? Literally have a normal conversation, please?
I've got 3 sisters who are blind, so that's really cool. And those were 2 Jehovah's Witnesses, pointing this out a few nights ago. Yeah, okay, that's really cool. I mean, again, it's like if I were in a wheelchair, for example, I wouldn't want people to be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's like shit happens. I mean, when I get older, I'm probably going to be in a wheelchair for all I know because I'm a big guy and all. I mean, I'm working out and all now to make sure that doesn't happen. But still, I don't want sympathy or anything like that.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about stuff we like. But what do I know? Allosaurus Rex quotes, "I locked myself out of my condo and I had to unlock the window and crawl in. A passing cop saw me struggling to open the window and, with no hesitation, jumped in to help me. He had no reason to believe it was my house. He said I, quote-unquote, didn't look like a thief." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll take shit that didn't happen for 500, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our true story. Oh man, that's just these are so good. You should be concerned. That means any other white person could break into your home and probably get an assist from the police. Yeah, okay. White privilege doesn't mean your life hasn't... This is... who is this person? Silent Waters says, "White privilege doesn't mean your life hasn't been hard. It means that your skin color isn't one of the things making it harder." Well, I hate to say this. I hate to say this to you, but... if you're still perpetually living off of Uncle Sam, or you're not, doing anything better to improve your life, got some news for you there. It's not the color of your skin that's going to help you at that point there. Yeah. So, Old Man Dan replies, "White privilege and institutional racism don't exist in 2019. Give me an example that doesn't involve you assuming motive or that is statistically inaccurate. For example, police target and shoot more black people. Those statements are statistically false," which is true. "You don't know having white skin doesn't make one's life harder any more than you don't know, or than you know that having black skin makes one's life harder. What you're participating in is racism." Yep. "Judging one's life experience based on their skin color." Yeah. This meme is about insecurity, not racism, and that's pretty much what it is. Bravo, Dan.
Yeah.
Bravo. I mean, yeah, if you think about it, it's more than just that. It's insecurity and basically oppressive laziness. It's and it's stolen oppression too. You're just stealing the oppression of your ancestors and using it basically based off of the history that the dark history that this country's had before. Every country has had a dark part of its history, but they've moved on from it. What's ironic, though, is that where segregation was between white people trying to segregate from the blacks, now the blacks are trying to segregate from the whites. Yep. So it's astonishing how they're taking so many of these just sad and racist and segregating motives that have occurred through history and applying it themselves without really knowing that, ironically, that's what they're doing there. But yeah, it's insecurity about your own well-being and laziness. And like once you discover... Like, here's what happens. A lot of times when you feel oppressed, you feel that you're going to be able to, if you have no voice of your own, this is the true problem about oppression. You really have no voice of your own at that point. You basically draw it upon yourself to have others speak on your behalf because you're too afraid to either speak out against what your problem is, or what your insecurities are. So as a result of that, you follow groups and you let these groups speak for you without having a voice. That's where the insecurity comes in. But once you discover that people are allied to you, you use them as crutches. And as a result of using them as crutches, all of a sudden, you don't find the initiative to improve your life. You don't go out there and find the initiative to find that merit, to find that what defines you. Now, I mean, of course, everybody's into the same things and whatnot, but you're still a life. You're still somebody that can make a difference. But once you use other people who are supporting you just based upon your feelings as opposed to your merit and your contribution, and we're talking economical contribution or charitable contribution, volunteer contribution, things of that nature, you're not developing your personality. You're becoming a shell. You're becoming a puppet. You're becoming an NPC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it boils down to with that. You're not an individual anymore. You're just going with the flow because, one, you're too scared and insecure. Two, you're too lazy to better yourself because you have crutches to lean against to help you through life rather than using your own inner strength to help yourself. And then three, you're pretty much doomed through all existence at that point. The further, it's very hard to dig out of that hole. I know for a fact because I used to be a victim of teasing in school, and it was terrible. It was really, really terrible. I was scared. I was lost. It was all the way up until I was like almost 20 years old. I was so scared. I didn't know what I was going to do in life. And then one day, I had pretty much a defining moment occur in my life, which I won't discuss, but my closest friends know what I'm talking about. And from that point on, I still had a lot to learn and ladders to climb, but I climbed out of that hole. Kyle Katarn said it best from Jedi Knight. The dark side, I've been there. Do your worst. And yeah, I've been, I contemplated suicide once in my life. I didn't do it though, and I didn't pick up a knife or anything like that. But, I've been through, even despite the fact that we've come from financial privilege, we've had emotional trials. We've had trials with friends. We've had trials with relationships. I mean, we've had it bad, and you would think that money makes things easier and wealth. It doesn't always. It can't buy you love. It can't
buy you real friends.
Nah.
One of my big things in elementary school is because I was blind and I kept getting pulled out of classes to be taught extra stuff that was necessary for me to know. I was really isolated from all of the other kids in the school. It was extremely hard to make friends.
Yeah. But I mean, people admire you for that because you're not an ableist, so because you're not sighted. But again, it's still, sighted, not sighted. Everybody has trials in their life.
Yeah.
Whether or not you have the guts to climb over those hurdles are up to you. You can't depend on everybody for the rest of your life. The golden rule is if you can't help yourself first, how the hell are you going to be able to help others later?
Yeah.
And the answer is you can't. You're going to cling on others and become a leech. And that's what a lot of these people who believe in this bullshit are. They're leeches. Yep. They are leeches on society, and they're sucking the very fabric that makes us great, unfortunately. Faterus says, you're a racist piece of shit if you believe in white privilege. The newest racial supremacists seeking to dominate people based on their immutable characteristics. Yeah. And that was another thing. A lot of people also go into this because it's just a trendy fad. That's really what it is. It's just whatever. People are afraid to be called monsters if they go against the status quo. So that's where the insecurity comes in. If I have my own voice and I speak against it, I'm going to be shunned. I don't want to be shunned. I wouldn't be surprised if... we already know that a lot of these people are virtue signaling. The people who actually are sincere about their quote-unquote white apology.
Ugh.
But a lot of these other people are just, they're too afraid to have their own voice, like we said. The insecurity just basically stems from it. They just can't break away because they know they're going to be called monsters. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these people didn't believe in what they were saying, to be honest.
Why don't they just not say anything then?
Well, if you keep the problem though is that if you're silent about the way you feel, then you develop a different type of insecurity called indecisiveness.
Oh yeah, and I don't mean be silent all the time. It's just you don't have to necessarily follow all this trendy shit, is what I mean.
Well, you know, I mean, it's just, it's a theory, but it seems to be a well-proven one that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at Crocodile Plate. My white privilege is being smarter, stronger, and more pure than these dumb Nigger pets.
What? Okay.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, that's a pretty good joke there. Wow.
Okay then.
Yeah, that's